Good evening, everyone. Sorry, a few seconds late there. My microphone stand collapsed just as I was organizing to get started. Um, I said that this evening I wanted to give you feedback on the security forum from La Cala, which was held from about 5:30 ish. I left about 7:30. It was still going. Um, Security is something that just seems to come up again and again and again. And if I say security, I would add into that this whole idea of safety. So we are going to just be, I'm going to be filling you in on what happened in the security forum. First of all, how it came about, who was there, who wasn't there, and the kind of issues that were raised, and also the issues that I raised with them. Um, First of all, there are three kind of community councils in the three urban nucleuses, Las Lagunas, Mijas Pueblo, and in La Cala. And this security meeting was called by the community council from La Cala. The um, the head of the police, local police, was there. Head of the Guardia Civil based in Fuengirola was there. Another Guardia Civil member. Uh, where do I start? It was a very Spanish meeting in terms that everything jumped back and forwards, and we've tried to put this into some sort of order. The first thing I have to say about this, which I think was very disappointing, that the councillor who is in charge of the local police in this legislature is the mayor. So, although we have a sort of superintendent of police who sees the day-to-day things, the councillor responsible for that is the mayor, and the mayor was not there. Um, this was commented by several people on several occasions that if security is an important issue for the mayor, and he's in charge of the police, why wasn't he there? I don't have an answer. The answer from the councillor that was there, who's in charge of the community councils, was that this is just a local thing, and there was no need for the mayor to be there because she was there. Fine, okay. That's the first thing. Um, there were a number of very strange comments made. Well, strange to my mind. Um, The first thing is about the crime rate over the last year, and the Guardia Civil said that there was a 59% decrease in crime in Mijas over the past year. Therefore, that means Mijas is a safe place. Now, listen, I spend probably more of my life than I should flicking through Facebook and various groups I'm involved in. And yeah, Debbie has said, could he not be bothered? Sad. Well, I can't speak for him. I don't know why he wasn't there, but I would have thought that when you've got the Guardia Civil, um, yeah, we've also got a comment from Paul here who's saying, "Well, of course it's gone down because tourism was less." Um, well, Paul, yeah, that's possibly the case, but I want to give another explanation for it as well. Um, you know, the Guardia Civil officer, I'm going to make comments on things that will probably get me into trouble, but I'm going to say them anyway. But the Guardia Civil officer who was there said very clearly they need denuncias. Um, if there is no denuncia, if there's no report made to them, and I'm talking about to the Guardia Civil, not to the local police, then there is no legal route that they can actually follow. So, making a report if anything happens, even if it's your purse that's stolen, even if there's only 20 euros in it, doesn't really matter. They need those figures. Um, why? Because to get a criminal in court may need 15, 20, or 25 convictions before they actually go to court. And if there is no denuncia, there is no legal route that they can actually take in this regard. Um, I know that people say to me, "Yeah, I reported it and they weren't interested." Well, I can't really speak for that, but that certainly wasn't what he was saying. What was said is this, and I think, Mark, asked a question, last week when we touched on this a little bit, isn't there a quick way to report, crimes? The answer is, well, no, there isn't. The local police, are not, uh are not in a position to accept legally denuncias for robberies, things that happen in the street, house break-ins, and all this kind of stuff. This has to be done directly with the Guardia Civil, so there is no quick way to make a report. And the Guardia Civil office is in Fuengirola. Now, some of you might be asking, well, what about the office that we had in La Cala? Yep, it's closed down and it doesn't look like it's going to be reopened. This is not a local decision. This is a decision which has been taken by essentially the Home Office, who says that they don't have money for it. They can't afford to have it. So we're stuck with this Guardia Civil office in Fuengirola, which is an awful place to park in. And a lot of people were complaining about this. Paul is saying, I wouldn't know how to do a denuncia. Well, um, yeah, basically, you turn up at the Guardia Civil office and they talk you through it. The problem that you might have is if you don't speak Spanish, you will need to take an interpreter with you because the denuncia has to be done in Spanish and you cannot guarantee that there will be somebody there who speaks English. And I'm not even sure you could guarantee there will be a translator there. So if you need to make a denuncia, it's the Guardia Civil office in Fuengirola. I think it's Calle Mallorca, but it is an awful place to park in. So, denuncias. No denuncia, there's no legal route. There's no quick way to do a report or make a denuncia. You have to go into Fuengirola. End of stories. One of the things that the officer said was that, citizens do have rights. I'm glad to hear that, but they also have obligations, and it is their obligation to report crimes. Um, he is saying that the more denuncias they have, the more legal action they can take. And, even if they catch someone, it doesn't mean that they can just put them into jail. The legal system will probably fine them for several times. And he said it could take 20 convictions before they actually go to jail. Um, Gordon's asking about proactive policing. We'll come back to that in just a moment, Gordon. It's a very good point, and well, where do we go? There was some discussion about squatting, and it continues to be a complicated one. Um, if they can be caught in the act breaking in, then the local police can act initially on that, but the Guardia Civil would need to also be involved. Um, just a minute. Let me have a look at. I'm looking at my notes here. Um, yeah, okay. That was the point that I wanted to make here. Um, One of the community presidents said, well, that's fine, but I can't actually report this to the Guardia Civil because it has to be the owner that reports it. Now, we have touched on this before. I think when Anne Anandith was on with me before. Um, what they are recommending is this, that every president of every community should have authorization from people who are owners in the community, giving them the authority to report, for example, if their houses are being occupied. So yeah, people don't always live in these apartments. Sometimes it can be 30, 40, 50% empty in a community. So, every president should get from every owner authorization for them to make a report if anybody occupies their, uh, um, house, flat, apartment, or whatever it is. Okay. Um, right. We've got. I think that was what I wanted to say about making denuncias. Okay. Um, Gordon is saying, what about proactive policing, like Bobby's on the beat? Okay. Um, this was this was something that was kind of raised about more police presence. And, well, frankly, the local police and the Guardia said, you know, what you've got is what you've got. There hasn't been an increase in police officers in Mijas since 2004, I think. We have about 140. Now, whilst the police officers are paid for by the council or your taxes, um, the council can't just employ more police officers. Um, this has to be approved by central government, okay? So we have the same number of police officers roughly as Fuengirola, but Mijas is 10 times bigger than Fuengirola. So yeah, police officers are going to be scattered much more widely in Mijas than they are in Fuengirola. You may well see them bump into them much more rapidly. But you know, it's 15 square kilometers in Fuengirola and 150 square kilometers in Mijas. They're saying they're doing the best they can with the resources that they have. The Guardia Civil also said that you know, they have the officers they have and they can't increase that. And Mijas is difficult because of its size. And just on that one, the Guardia Civil based offices for tourists only. Well, the office that was in La Cala was essentially the for tourists or for foreigners. And some Spanish residents who were there said, "Well, you know, what about us? We need to report things to the Guardia as well." But actually, it's become a, a moot point because the local office in La Cala, it hasn't been there for a couple of years now. It doesn't look like it's going to be there. So the Guardia Civil offices, the main offices, are for everyone to report any kind of crime. Okay. Anne, Anne is saying, you know, what are you saying? That the police are lazy and can't be bothered with anything to do with expats? Okay, but glad to take our money in other ways. Um, no, I'm not going to say that. And in fact, what I would say is this: the president of the Calahonda EUC, which is like a kind of collective of communities in Calahonda, Juan Carlos Cuevas, he made the point, and I kind of quote here: "We depend on the foreigners and the tourists that come to live and to live in or to visit Mijas, and the town hall is not doing their bit in giving information out or supporting this collective." He's talking about the foreigners. He said, "We can't afford to lose the foreign community." Um, the police say that they're doing the best that they can. I'm not really here to argue one way or the other on that, but that is what the police are saying. We're doing our best. Um, okay, I'm just reading some comments here. There's one from says, okay, very informative. I would sign into these conversations more often. Thank you for sharing the information. And well, this makes you feel involved. Well, I'm glad you feel that, says, because the whole point of the whole point of these live streams was to try to help to get people connected. Um, Thank you for sharing the information, Bill. You're very welcome, Rachel. Okay, what else have I got here? There is there was, a couple of things that the Guardia Civil, who spoke more, I have to say, than the local police, because the local police tend to deal with local things, things that are, to do with sort of the rules of community living within Mijas and things like that, and dogs barking and, um, everything else which is considered criminal would go to the Guardia Civil. The Guardia Civil officer did say, um, that people also need to be prepared. He said they do get, reports of people's wallets being stolen from a table. Someone €2,000 in the wallet lying on the table, and they stop off to the toilet and leave their wallet lying on the table. He said these things do happen. But the other thing that he was saying is that, sometimes they do catch people, and they catch them in possession of stolen goods. Now, they've got gold jewelry, maybe a ring, a necklace, expensive stuff, which are clearly been stolen, and you know what? They can't return them to the owners because they've never been reported. No denuncia was made, so they've got these things that now can't be returned to the person that they were stolen from. This is, again, the importance uh, of making the denuncia. Yes, if you're on holiday, it's a morning or an afternoon of your holiday gone. Um, but if you want to claim anything back on insurance, you need to have this report from the Guardia Civil with a crime number. So, it is quite important. And, you know, people need to make these, to make the security forces aware that these people are out there. Now, I did, because I was asked to, I raised the question, and I'm in touch with a lot of the foreign community here in Mijas. Um, you know, the biggest concern that I'm coming across is security on the streets, and I'm talking about in the markets, on the streets, people wearing expensive watches, getting them, ripped off their arm, and very often getting injured in the process. The scammers, who are there with the clipboards and, distracting you while somebody else steals something out your car. The ones that spray something on your back and say, "Oh, look, you've got something on your back. Let me help you to get rid of it," while somebody else is dipping their bag. And I said, "We're coming into summer, and, the volume of people here is going to be going up significantly. What can we do to, try to address this? What can we do to try to minimize this?" Um, Honestly, I didn't get an answer. I got a very complicated response, which didn't actually include, "And this is what we're going to do," or "This is what we can do," which, was actually very disappointing, I have to say. Um, Let me just see if I've missed any, yeah, to go back to Gordon's question about proactive policing, I got the feeling that the chief of police, the superintendent, basically felt they're doing what they can with the officers they've got. He says, "So how many more would we need? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70." Well, who knows that? But, according to him, there are not, enough, police, uh, on their staffing list to, cover the whole of Mijas in the way that people would want it to. Um, Someone else did make the comment that they lived in an area of Ronda, and there were 12 community policemen. He knew them all, and it helped. Um, the forces that were there really, I'm trying to be very diplomatic here, but basically said, "We're doing the best with what we've got." And I didn't really feel, There was a kind of justification of how things were going, but I didn't really feel that there were any solutions being offered. Um, there are things that the council can do, things that they can't do. But if any of these things are going to happen, there's two things that are very important. One is we need the numbers. Now, a colleague of mine did ask the question, so if we get more denuncias and the number of denuncias goes up, does that mean we will get more police officers, more Guardia Civil officers? And they said, no, but it would then be incumbent on the council to push this with it's the Ministry of the Interior, or like the Home Office. Um, yeah, Anne has just commented here. Why don't they make the paperwork easier for everyone as we have modern technology now? Okay, yeah. Why don't they make the paperwork easier? I don't know. They have a system of paperwork, and I guess it is what it is. And these things have to be done in person. You can't just make a report by sending an email or whatever. It has to be done in person. And for that to change, I guess there would need to be a lot of legal parts of the legal system that would need to change also, for that to be possible. But yeah, I mean, I think we are in some ways quite far behind in terms of making the best of the technology that we have. But I can't really see um, this being done without the legal background being changed and without this being instituted by central government. I don't think that these are local decisions that are made. Um, yeah, the Guardia Civil, and I'm going back to making denuncias again. The Guardia Civil said this. Now, I was shocked by this. He was looking at the statistics for reports of housebreakings. In January, in Mijas, there were 2. In February, there were 3. And in March, there were 2. Now, that makes, my mathematics is terrible, but that makes 7 in the first quarter of the year. I'm sure I've read of more than 7 break-ins to properties on social media in the first quarter of this year, but they only have 7 reported from Mijas. Now, he says that the crime level is down by 59%, but if people are not reporting these things, then obviously the numbers are not going to be realistic. Um, right, let me just see if there's anything else that came out of it. As I say, I was there for 2 hours. It was still going, but it was getting a bit repetitive. And I did feel to some extent that everybody on the platform was kind of justifying their position. I think that the complaints or the suggestions that were made by the people who attended, I think they were all reasonable. Um, and there was a very, I think, defensive position from those in the security forces who are saying we're doing the best we can with the staff that we have. Um, I'll say again, I think it was very disappointing that the mayor wasn't there. This has been an issue which we have raised in council. He got really quite scrappy about it and told Anchor Nathal, you're being irresponsible, painting a bad image of Mijas. But what can I say? It's becoming okay. Who's saying this? Says is saying that there is a phone number that foreigners can call to make the denuncia, and English is spoken. but you then have to go to the national police station in Fuengirola to sign the denuncia. Well, it would be the Guardia Civil, not the National Police, where we go to get our TIE cards and things. It would be the Guardia Civil that would need to be you would need to go to in order to sign that. I don't know about this, says if I'd known about it, I would have tried to get a number, but maybe that's something I can look into. That she says that they used that in March when they were burgled. Okay, so there is a system, but it still will involve a trip into the Guardia Civil office in Fuengirola to sign the denuncia. Okay, everyone. I don't want to just keep talking for the sake of it. I know you're concerned. The other thing that was the point that was made, and oh, Daniela, yeah, how is it that only 7 break-ins were reported? I've read of more too, and for the insurance claim, you need the denuncia. I don't know, Daniela, but the sergeant from the Guardia Civil had his statistics there. He read them out. He actually also told us which streets they were in, and these were the numbers that he had for the first quarter. Um, okay, sorry, I'm just reading another comment here. Um, Okay, I don't understand it either, Daniela. I say it shocked me, and it shocked me because the number was so low. Um, and it says the same that with this number that you can phone in, it is the national police station where you get the TIE cards. Okay, we'll get that number out to you, and I'll see if I can put it on the YouTube link underneath in the description. Okay. Okay, folks. Disappointing, I have to say, disappointing in so far as I didn't feel there were any real solutions. Um, when I raised the issue that I said, you know, I'm in contact with a lot of foreigners through various groups. I reckon it must be at least 15,000 foreigners. Um, and the biggest concern that people are coming up with again and again and again is pickpockets, scammers on the street, you know, people who are distracting you and stealing stuff out of your bags, people who are ripping expensive watches off people's wrists. Um, I didn't get any solutions, folks. I'm sorry. You know, I tried to make the point that this is only going to get worse as the volume of people. You know, over summer, Mijas is probably going to double its population or triple its population, and this is going to be rife pickings for the gangs that are out there. Okay, Says has given us this number, which I'm putting up here. This is for making a denuncia in English, where you have to go down to the National Police Station to sign the denuncia. 902 102 112, and it's a great service, and she has used it. Thank you, Says, for that. And I will put that number also onto the YouTube in case anyone wants to share this live stream. Um, well, there we are, folks. Thank you for joining me today. Uh, yeah, you know, we have to just be careful. Um, you know, I've been reading what people are doing now and not having their bags open and putting their valuables inside a bag to carry it around, not leaving stuff on tables, not engaging with people who say you've got a scratch in your car in car parks. You know, we don't want to live with suspicion, but I don't really know that there is another way to protect ourselves just on a day-to-day basis and not in extreme situations. And you have to consider if you've got a 30,000 euro Rolex, you have to consider whether you want to wear it when you go in shopping. Um, you know, this is life. And I have to say, I've been reading stuff, Marbella, the same, Fuengirola, the same. This is not just Mijas. You know, I'm reading people are experiencing similar problems in the municipalities, probably all along the coast. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining in the chats this evening. Um, I know this doesn't give much in the way of solutions, but they didn't give us much in the way of solutions, I'm afraid. But this is something that we will keep pushing at a political level and try to encourage the council to take up with national government at a political level to see if we can increase the numbers in the security forces that we have around Mijas. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back next week at our usual time of 7 o'clock. In the meantime, it's almost a weekend. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll be back next week. Take care.